Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to give a shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Melby Styles, Troy Shuker, Bose Nail, Joseph Pizarro, Samson, Maris, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, NA Literalist, Maria Nealands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Liam Nedrick, Abraham Mohammed, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Fireball X, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, Kirsten Smith, and David Wayne Foster. So a huge, massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now, also below this video, there is a link to get £50 back for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. And before I give a pass over to the G Plus and Discord servers, I'm going to say another thank you to Michael, who knows who he is, but he's been a very long time supporter of the show via PayPal, but I never give him any shout outs, never give him any praise, and give him a very similar response in thanks via email every time he supports me. But I just want to do an extra shout out to Michael today for supporting me via PayPal, as it comes at the most opportune moment every single time he supports me, and he's been supporting me for a very long time, so thank you to you also, Michael. With that, I am going to hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show.
Rocket launch by SpaceX.
Okay.
So you should check it out. It's funny though. But it's like young guys just going out across the country, and I guess they got an RV or something.
That's what he said. He came on the show, remember? He said someone from California drove there with an RV, and let's see. And then they're doing this big old tour, and they're having fun.
Yeah, I watched a couple of their videos, and I was laughing.
Bunch of guys having fun, probably, huh?
Yeah, it is good, clean fun. At first, I thought they were kind of obnoxious, but what are you going to do?
Well, you can have fun. You can have fun and be obnoxious.
Yeah, that's his. Listen, that's his gig. I'm not going to try and change him. Go ahead.
No, everybody be themselves.
Yes. Can't have a million Nathan Oakleys. It wouldn't be fun anymore.
We can have a million Neils with broken down cars.
Can't have one. One is too many.
One is too many. That's right. We don't want too many 10th men either.
Oh boy. So Trump beat the impeachment, huh?
Yeah, they got this bunch. It's just theater. Just that Hegelian dialect, playing both sides of that coin.
Yep.
Yep, that's what they want. Let them have it. So Nathan's not going to come on early because he knows I'm going to put him to work. That was so funny when you said that the other day.
That worked out good though.
That was fun.
I was on Arwen's this morning, on the chat.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how Nathan should do like a 24/7, all the old ones. And I remember one thing: football used to be great when it was every Sunday and then a Monday night game. And it became overkill when they started putting them on Thursday nights, special Sunday nights, and then even Saturday. Saturday used to come the end of the college season when the playoffs came around. Like the last 2 games of the season, you looked forward to it. But it kept you hungry for football. So,
well, that they put it all on the Thursday night, Sunday night,
yeah, it's too
all
much.
day, and then all day Sunday, and then Monday night. What do you think men and women who love sports were doing instead of spending time with their family?
Yeah.
That was the whole idea, is to get everybody hooked up to the TV instead of having conversations around the dinner table why gas don't go down boom boom like bouncy balls.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It became overkill and it's not enjoyable anymore. Like, keep the Nathan Oakley show the way it is. Enjoyable. Overkill is too much.
So what's the overkill that you think is too much?
If he puts a show on 24/7, just running all day long,
Oh, I see.
all the old shows, it just reminded me of that football thing when I used to look forward to, hey, Sunday football, and that was it. Monday night, that was it, done. Wait till the next week, you know?
Well, you could have a highlight day for a highlight show from the past, like a blast
Yeah,
from the
that's
past.
fine.
I know what you're
It's
saying.
fine.
A few people have asked me, Neil, to do, why don't you run it 24/7? You've got so much material. And it's like, no, I just don't want it to be oversaturated. You know, I do
Exactly.
5 days a week. There's a show produced, and that show gets split into two in terms of how it gets published. So half of it goes out live, half of it doesn't, but it's available to everyone at some stage. And if you're keen, you can have it early with membership. But you know, if I was to oversaturate it, you certainly wouldn't. I probably wouldn't have any members because there'd be nothing for them to get keen about, right? It's like so having the after show not published means there at least is some new material to come out when it gets republished with the live show sandwiched in between, right? So that gives you some live material. 50% of each show that's released as a premiere is all brand new material. So, you know, that means that there's not constant repeats. And if you just put 24/7 constant repeats, it's like, who actually wants to sit and listen to the Isle of Man debate again? I don't know if it might be an interesting folly for people to go back if they hear us referencing it, to hear us begging the question, maybe have a good laugh about how we were duped into begging the question the whole time. But would you want to listen to it on repeat constantly? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They did that with football. They oversaturated it. And it wasn't like I remember when I used to just watch it on YouTube, I was hungry for it. I couldn't wait. I knew the times. I knew that later on in the day, you would come out with the after show, and I had it mapped out. I was hungry for it. You want to keep people hungry for it.
Exactly. I mean, initially, to get the show established before anybody's got any hunger or even knowledge of the show's existence, then you've got to kind of get it out as much as possible for people to even catch on that it's even a thing. So initially, I was doing a show, 2 shows a day, spread out as far as I could make them, and it was absolutely exhausting. That's why the shows are into the thousands, because initially I was doing 2 a day. Well, you get to a point where you go, well, obviously that's generating more views because the live show's the most popular, and having more views and not wanting to burn out means at some point you've got to cut it in half and go, okay, I will accept that I will halve the number of views I get. And as a YouTuber, that's disastrous, right? But you have to make that decision at some point. Either you do that or you burn out as a brightly burning star that was gathering so much potential, and then you just die in terms of a channel because you've run out of steam. Well, you've got to. So I had to make that cut. And when I recently put out a video or a community post or something similar that said, "Here's my stats. I've hit 5 million." So I actually published the graph, and someone pointed out, "Look, you're on a decline." It's like, well, no, actually, I'm not. At that point where the views look like they're going down, I halved my output. Literally, it completely halved. So it went from, in fact, it more than halved because I was doing 2 shows 7 days a week, every single day. So it went from 14 shows a week to 5 shows a week that were split in half into the after show and then republished on the second channel. So in technical terms, you could say, oh, it's gone down to 10, so therefore you haven't actually reduced that much. It's like, yeah, you have, because there's not 2 live shows on the main channel with the biggest audience going out every single day. And that makes a huge difference. Well, it's now just reaching the point where, because of the increase in subscribers, I've now reached the point where half the amount of output is actually yielding roughly the same as it was when I wasn't as big a channel, but doing twice as much work. Does that make sense? That's where I wanted to be, doing a reasonable amount of work and roughly getting the same amount of views as I had to work twice as hard to achieve. Like when you reach a point where it's like, well, no, you don't have to actually work twice as hard to achieve the same amount, and that amount isn't enough anyway. But you'll burn out if you do continue at that rate. So that's why, like I say on my graph, it's like, wow, there's a drop there. It's like, yeah, that's when I halved the output.
Makes sense. I just remember the Thursday they used to have 2 shows. That's when I came in, like around, I guess, the end of 600, show 700. So I remember you did 2 shows on Thursday. Or was it Friday when you did the 2
I used to do
shows?
2 shows daily.
Yeah, but I just remember when it was just on one day where you did 2 shows.
Well, you're just talking about the transition period, so there might have been a week or two, it might have even been a month, where I didn't just stop. Like, right now, there's no 2 shows. It's just you slowly filter them out. Same with the weekend. You know, you don't just stop doing weekends. You slowly filter out, replace it with something that's like an after show that hasn't been published yet. So it's still new material, but it's not a live show anymore on a Saturday. Like, well, after having a family, because I started a family while I was in the process of building up the show, you've got to assign some time that's totally dedicated to your family. Otherwise, you just become a husk of a person doing your show, with nothing to live for, miserable in your actual life that you're supposed to be living because you've got a show. It's like, nah, you've got to actually be Otherwise, I think that would also have detrimental effects on the show because you'd have a miserable host, right? As opposed to a stern host that's telling fundies what's what. I'm still actually a very chirpy person.
Correct.
And it's because I'm happy. I might not be very rich. I gave a shout out to one of my PayPal supporters today. I very rarely shout out. And the guy's been supporting me forever. It's just by coincidence. I thought I'll wait a period so it's not like I'm due for him to contribute or he's just contributed. I thought I'll leave a nice little gap, and then when he's not doing anything or expected to be, not that he is, I'll thank him in the middle of a show just to show my appreciation, because it's typically the case. It's almost like thanking God, because you're like, God, I've run out of money, what am I going to do? And then suddenly Michael will drop a PayPal donation on me of a significant amount, and he's consistently done it for it's probably a couple of years now. And it's just like a godsend when it comes. So, like living on that sort of knife edge is only done because I want to have the extra time to spend with my family. I could dedicate an extra third of my time to the show, and then basically almost every waking hour would be dedicated to it. You just think, nah, then what's the point in living then?
No, I think the way you got it running now is perfect, to be honest.
That was a rep. When I was a rep traveling all over the world, 100% of my time at certain stages was away from home. You're out in some foreign land, and then you're going to trek off to some other foreign land straight after. You might come home for a couple of days, but ultimately you're never at home. So, yeah, you're earning the big bucks, and you've got a James Bond lifestyle, jet setting all over the place and visiting exciting places and rich people. That was all very cool, but I didn't actually have any life. And you put it on Facebook, and as much as I joke about sort of semi-interesting things I did while I was a rep that didn't get a great deal of attention on Facebook, for the most part, it was still perceived as what it was. Jet setting all over the world, seeing interesting places, meeting interesting people. You can't deny what it actually was. And getting all that money, you're like, what is the point? Yeah, I can buy something that's expensive on a whim, which I definitely can't do now. That's why I do GoFundMes occasionally, right? But, having the funds to do that, if you can't actually enjoy any actual life, you just think a lot of people will probably go through their education, get a high degree, go on to work in a decent career, dedicate their life to that career, get to about 50 or 60 and go, well, now I've got plenty of money to potentially retire while I've got a very low sex drive, low energy levels, grey hair,
I got you.
Yeah, often the person that starts out trying to achieve the wealth for the freedom, that person gets destroyed by the journey of trying to obtain the money for the freedom, so that by the time they have the money to be able to do what it is they wanted, they're not the same person that they were when they started, so they can't even enjoy it.
Yeah, it's people's inability to actually live in the moment, always striving for the next achievement, as opposed to sort of sitting back and taking in the world. I mentioned this on a show a few weeks back, right? You got a few sniggers from the Globe side, I seem to remember. I was talking about just stopping, just stopping and taking in the world around you, taking in a few smells and stuff. Maybe they thought I was a hippie. Maybe I am, but I don't care. It's like, no, if you don't stop just for, even if it's just a fleeting moment, if you're not particularly into doing this or have never done it, just take in the world around you for what it is and how glorious it is, and have some appreciation for just how good life really is when you exclude all of the propaganda that you might be concerning yourselves with. Now, a lot of this is down to getting rid of your television, because you don't necessarily go outside and concern yourself with the invisible boogeyman that might get you because the propaganda said so. Now, being detached from that makes that a lot easier to just go out and go, wow, doesn't it smell beautiful today? A lot of people just, that's beyond them because they're so concerned and kept in a perpetual state of fear by the television set.
Hey, Nathan.
Yeah, trying to keep up with an image or trying to keep up with, yeah.
Exactly. They
should friends or even people around them.
Could be trying to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate, goddamn them.
Hey, Nathan.
Yes.
Can I pile on the globe? Can you go to the Master B and put up those slides before the show starts?
Yeah, which one do you want me to start on?
It's going to be the Navy guy with the sextant with the ocean behind him.
Okay, yeah, the dude, got him. I just get him.
All right, so here it is.
Stuff.
We're going to continue the year of the sextant. Going to destroy the globe again today. Love piling on with this. So there you are. There's the ocean. They don't know where they are, so they're going to take out this wonderful navigational tool. Next slide, please. And there's a image of it and how the mirror on the top comes down to meet the mirror, to reflect on the mirror below, which is set on the horizon. As you can see, bring the sun or any heavenly body to the horizon. You measure from the horizon up. Next. Here's a little image kind of showing how that sailor might be doing it. So you see the horizon off in the distance, level. And then you see the sextant, he's reading a star, and it's going to be 25 degrees above the horizon from this 0. If he went straight up, it'd be 90 degrees. That would be his zenith. Next. So if we look at the altitude of a star at 90 degrees, which would have been over that guy's head directly, it would look like this. But you see, they need 2 tangent planes, one on the surface of a presupposed globe and one on the equator, all the way through the Earth, a big slice, basically. And you see the little angle of the 90 on top. You can achieve the same angle at the center because of the radius of a circle. This is their little trick. So this is the observer's view of the star's geographical position, and that star, we'll call it Polaris for now. And it's exactly over his head at 90 degrees on the surface of the Earth, as well as from the radius of a sphere or a circle because of the way geometry works. Next. But let's say it's that other picture, and it's off to the side somewhere. Star of an infinite distance, as they say, must come in parallel. That's what they say. And it's going to achieve the same angle when you have a tangent plane on top as well as one in the middle where the radius is. You see those angles are identical. This is the whole concept of Aristophanes, and this is what Rumpus denied when he said the sun rays do not come in parallel. So he just destroyed this globe model, this little trick. Next slide. It's a picture of an old presentation online. It shows the celestial horizon, which is, of course, the plane through the center of the Earth on the radius. Then it shows the surface, and then it shows someone in an airplane, because you can use the sextant on an airplane as well. So they still need that tangent plane. So airplane must be flying level as well to achieve the same angles on all 3 points. But light must come in parallel in order for this to work. If not, bye-bye globe. Next, image of a ball and light coming in parallel. Next, angles in parallel lines. Alternate angles, corresponding angles, and they need corresponding angles. It has to be, or it's not. This is how they need that angle to be the same from the center as well as the surface. Next. So we go back to the star at infinite distance. This is how they say it works when it doesn't, because no one ever has taken the reading from the center of the Earth, the presupposed. But this is what it does when the sextant works. Next slide. figure 1-5. It shows 2 stars, GP, GP1, GP2. And then when you get that third star, and when all 3 circles meet, that's where you are in the ocean, let's say. So the GP stands for geographical position, where the star is, where the star's zenith position is over the Earth. The red circle is the distance to that star from where you took your reading, but you're not sure where on that red circle you are. So you take a second one, and it's that green circle. It crosses on 2 points, so you're somewhere on those 2 points. When you take your third, GP3, you know exactly where you're at. Next one. How? Because of how to achieve an angle. So how do you achieve an angle? You need a level surface that meets at a corner, 2 straight lines, and then wherever that star is, that's your angle. And you are where the vertex is. Next one, my slide. How the sextant actually works. So here's a sun at 90 degrees over the sun's GP. You are in one of those 3 sailboats at a either 30-degree angle to it, or 45-degree angle to it, or 60-degree angle to it. This is how it works. It cannot work any other way. Next slide. Sun's GP again, but on a curved surface, the presupposed globe, it doesn't work because there isn't a straight line meeting to create a vertex. Impossible. You can see I put horizon there at 0 and 180 to the right. Next slide. Then I draw a tangent plane, taking it back to a flat surface, and now it can work. Now you have a 45-degree angle to that sun because you need 2 straight lines meeting at a point, which is the vertex where you can create that angle. Next, the death of the globe. Every day, wake up, use your eyes, beautiful diverging rays of the sun. That means the globe model dies because, number one, it has to come in parallel, and it doesn't. The next slide. So these light rays look like they're coming parallel to help the globe model, or are they coming divergent? You can answer for yourself. The last slide, back to the summary slide. There's Eratosthenes' mistake on the right, taking it to the center, assuming the sun's rays are coming in parallel, seeing a shadow, saying that's because we lived on the curved surface. False. Here's the flat Earth model on the left side. I hate saying flat Earth model, but it is how a sextant works, let's put it that way. And you can see the shadows are cast because the sun is moving and it's at a different angle to whatever is on this beautiful plane that we live on. That's it. Bye-bye, globe. You're the sextant.
Epic. Well done. Excellent presentation. Getting really good at them.
I want to challenge that.
Oh, yeah.
It could work on a globe if you had parallel rays and a geometric horizon.
It could work on a globe if you had parallel rays and a geometric horizon. But we haven't.
Yeah, no, that's the big problem. That's what got me. Horizon's got to be geometric.
Well, what if the star is 6,000 miles away on the curved side? How's it going to work?
Well, if the horizon was geometric, you would live on a ball. So it could work if you
Oh,
live on a ball.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So if you had 2 straight lines and they met at a vertex and you took your reading from the sextant, then it would work.
Well, you really need the horizon to be geometric, not refracted. When you refract it, you invalidate every globe claim that involves a sextant or theodolite.
You need 2 straight lines creating a corner to get an angle. So forget about the ball. Can't get an angle any other way.
Hey, Sleeping Warrior.
Hey.
Hey, hey, hey.
What I miss?
10th Man was doing a presentation on the sextant and how parallel light rays can't be acquired, but they're needed for their claims with things like Eratosthenes, etc.
What do you got to share, Sleeping Warrior? You usually come on with something.
Yeah, I've been looking at the comments on my latest video about the Coriolis effect and the claim that planes should get faster and slower depending on east and west flights. Let's just assume for a minute that that doesn't happen, right? Let's just agree that conservation of momentum preserves that, and therefore the claim that we make is incorrect.
Well, first of all, stop. First
Wait
of all,
a second.
Stop. First, we don't make any claim about Coriolis. Now you're saying verbalization of what? Let me just clarify it. Our verbalization of what they claim happens on a globe is wrong.
Yeah, our claim is that, or my claim in this instance is that flights should be quicker and slower with east and west flights. And they say, no, you've got it wrong because conservation of momentum applies. Okay, let's apply conservation of momentum, then we don't see any drift. And they said, but we wouldn't expect to see drift because it's conserving momentum. That's a claim that you guys make and it's wrong. And I was like, right, okay, let's think about this. And what I realized is that if you go from the center of the sphere, let's play their game. If you go from the center of the sphere and you have the radius of 3959, that's at surface level. As you gain elevation and the planes fly at 30,000 feet, because you're gaining elevation, the circumference from LA to, Charlottesville in North Carolina to Los Angeles, that distance gets bigger the higher you go because the two radiuses are going out like spokes on a wheel. So the distance is gaining distance, or the distance between point A and point B is getting bigger the higher you go. So they travel at 30,000 feet roughly. If they're traveling at 600 miles an hour at 30,000 feet, the distance is getting bigger. So they can't conserve momentum without speeding up. They've got to go faster to get to that, to cover that same distance, right?
Correct. The increased radius value as you ascend in an airplane, drone, helicopter, hot air balloon, all of those things would increase your radius value. And for it to increase the speed in relation to the increased radius value at a greater height on a presupposed spherical Earth, you would have to violate the first law of thermodynamics. That's correct, Anthony. Yes.
Yeah, you'd have to violate the first law. So they say that you wouldn't expect to see faster and slower flights. Well, forget about that for a minute. If the radius is increasing because the plane's flying at a higher height, then the distance is also getting longer. So they have to speed up to make that distance up, because if they travel at 600 miles an hour, but the circumference is getting bigger because they're getting further away from the center of the Earth, then they've got to speed up and slow down as they gain elevation and drop elevation, right? Now, they've got to speed up, right? Otherwise, that distance isn't going to be preserved when you look at it as a degree. So even if the planes are not meant to drag and get faster because of Earth turn, they've got to compensate for the distance change. So they must speed up and slow down the higher they go. But they don't. They travel at 600 be it on the ground or 600 in the sky, but the distance is getting longer and longer. So they must do. So they can't get around that. So I'm like, So
when you corrected me at the beginning of this, I've waited this long just to get this in. So when you corrected me and said, no, what I'm claiming is flight times would be reduced because Earth would be turning underneath. That is not your claim. That is your verbalization of their claim, because they claim we have Coriolis effect, which is only observable if you're turning underneath stuff. So therefore they're claiming Earth turns underneath planes. That is their claim, Anthony. Don't fall into the trap of having them challenge you on their claim. It's a burden of proof reversal fallacy, which up until now they've got away with because they challenge us on our what is actually understanding of their claim. And then if you let that progress, you end up in a position where someone like Simon Dan comes along and tells you that because it's your claim that Earth should turn underneath planes, no, they don't. You and your reference frames are ruined. Yeah? Not appreciating that you've been positioning your argument like you're claiming Earth should turn underneath planes when you absolutely do not claim that. You're detailing their claim that is Coriolis, which is only happening if we're turning underneath stuff. That's it. That is their claim. They claim Coriolis. We reiterating it, stressing it, detailing it doesn't make it our claim. Just so that's clear.
But even if the plane, let's just give it to them for the minute. Let's just say that you wouldn't expect to see a change in flight times. By gaining elevation, you're increasing that radius value from the center of the Earth.
Correct.
So you must, because you've got to compensate for that missing distance, because you're not conserving your 15 degrees. You're conserving the distance, but only at ground level. You're not conserving the distance at high level, and that's the problem. So they have to compensate for that.
Yeah, I completely agree. When you get into their relinquishment of their claim that we have 15 degrees an hour drift as Earth turns underneath an inertial reference frame to cause things like footballs to drift through goals, apparently from the stands. Well, if you're going to have a fundy relinquish that very claim and tell you that Earth and atmosphere travel as one, in violation of the first law of thermodynamics as you're detailing, then they're saying at the stage that they say, no, this is where it works, your claim, Anthony, of 15 degrees drift, it's not your claim. But they suddenly position themselves to fight against your claim of 15 degrees an hour without it seeming stupid to the audience, because suddenly you're detailing what they're relinquishing. And the moment they say, no, we shouldn't have Earth turning underneath stuff, well, no Coriolis effect then. You can get into the wrangle-dangle of the first law of thermodynamics violation they use as a justification for not having Coriolis effect if you want to. And the only way they get away with it is by making it your claim that we have Coriolis effect when it's definitely not our claim. We don't claim reference frames, we don't claim drift, but they do. They only relinquish it and tell us it's our claim, burden of proof reversal fallacy, when we point out it does not happen. And then we get into arguing about how it doesn't happen and how they're maintaining the 15 degrees now that it's supposed to be drifting apart at. Comprende?
Yeah, I hated this argument in this. I've heard it talked about back and forth that many times that I thought, right, it's time that I got my head around this and worked out where the double speak is, because obviously there is double speak there. It's obvious, but it's understanding it. And then when I started to look at it, I realized that what they're doing is they're failing to conserve the angular momentum. They're applying the distance. And then I was like, right, now I get this. I get this totally now. Yeah, these guys are being totally dishonest, the little weasels.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video there is a link to get £50 back for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Sleeping Warrior, Arwin, Chocolate Saiyan, Father of a Stolen Child, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Hello.
Morning.
Greetings.
Morning.
Morning.
The snow is melting.
It's all that climate change, right? It's nothing to do with the cyclical nature of the seasons.
Yeah,
But
it is
nevertheless.
climate change. It's called spring.
Yeah, the climate is changing. That's correct. Let's not mention global warming, because obviously that would be begging the question of a sphere Earth. But any evidence?
It's planar warming.
It's plain warming. I don't think it is. I
Planar
don't think it is
warming.
getting warmer. Anyway,
It's like an oven plate. It's warming up.
warmer in summer. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge? That would be a horizon, formerly known as Earth curvature.
Geometric?
No. Yes, global warming.
If geometric sphere edge horizon, then global warming. Is that the logical fallacy you're presenting here, Arwin?
Yes.
That's useless.
Oh.
About Discord, any evidence?
I got
Physical
it.
sphere edge horizons? Anybody at all?
No,
Apparently, the geometric
Adam.
horizon is now the signal sitting on top of the police station in Gotham City.
Oh, it's the projected horizon.
Yeah.
It's a surprise that, because you'd think that given how they qualify how much it's blocking things with feet and inches values, that they would say it's a non-physical location that's projected. So this non-physical projected location's blocking it at a very specific feet and inches value with its physical nature. All right, that kind of doesn't work, you realise.
That
Somebody
seems like
send out the curve signal.
It's only blocking it on top of the building, but it's not blocking it at the bat signal itself in the sky.
chocolate. That's a very bat move on their part.
Boom, boom.
Bat move.
As we were discussing it in the pre-show, and Anthony Riley is here for this purpose. Any evidence that we have axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No, because we don't see planes going faster and slower when they go to destinations.
That's correct. Coriolis effect is the effect of us seeing things seem to drift because we're turning underneath them. Seeming, because they could be a hovering drone, and you rotating underneath it on, say, a roundabout, the drone would appear to move when it's not really moving, it's just hovering. And likewise, it's claimed Earth has that effect. That would be Coriolis effect. Righteous, did you have something to add?
Wait, I'm off mute? Oh yeah, I am.
That's
No,
correct,
nothing.
you are. You are indeed.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Hey, wouldn't that be similar to one of those airport walkways that are on, that move and you get on it, but you don't gain any ground? Conservation of momentum.
Travelator.
Yeah, travelator. So let's say you get on the travelator expecting that it's going to take you from A to B without you walking, and you get on it, but you're always in the same position. Isn't that their argument then?
Yeah, that's their argument. Yeah, as you're standing on the travelator, if there's a guy standing next to the travelator but not part of the travelator's motion, as you get closer to him, from your perspective on the travelator, it looks like he's coming towards you. Now, he's sat reading a paper, just happens to be leaning against the travelator on the other side of it. And he looks like he's coming closer and closer and closer and closer. And you're like, oh, this guy's getting bigger and bigger and bigger as he comes closer with perspective. But he's not moving at all. It's you moving, right? Now, what their argument is to say that what's actually happening is the travelator and you are moving together and nothing around you is drifting relative to you. It's all moving with you. So the guy reading the paper as you move along the travelator is also moving further away from you as you get closer to him. I.e., you're not seeing him get closer. The not actual deflection of the guy getting closer and closer to you as you move towards him. That would be Coriolis deflection if it was on a rotating platform, as they claim we are. In other words, to summarise, they say we've got drift. Drift is things moving apart. Yeah? Like the gyroscope example, right? Gyros move in fixed space, don't they? They just spin. And if you move with a, bicycle wheel on the end of your finger, you can turn your finger in all sorts of directions, and the bicycle wheel stays basically in the same position as it spins. So it's in fixed space. Well, that's representative of your inertial reference frame. That's where the gyro is spinning. Well, when you look at it and it looks like it's moving inside the cage, well, that's because the cage is moving and the gyro isn't. Now, they claim that there's a 15 degrees an hour turn of the Earth which would move the cage by that amount as the gyro spins in its relatively fixed space in the inertial reference frame. Now, they say that's a demonstration of Earth turning underneath the fixed frame of the gyro. Likewise with the pendulum. The pendulum swings back and forth. That's all pendulums do. Well, why does it knock over the dominoes then? It must be swinging side to side. No, it's claimed there's a 15 degrees an hour turn of the Earth underneath the pendulum. Well, these are all Coriolis effects, i.e. you turning underneath something to make it look like it's doing something it isn't. Well, if that was the case, and we were turning underneath stuff not attached at 15 degrees an hour, as Anthony pointed out in the pre-show, and in the live show, I think, it would shorten flight times, because Earth would be turning underneath them for us to observe this effect of Coriolis deviation. So if we're observing Coriolis deviation, that would be planes in a straight line looking like they're curving, only because we're turning underneath them. It means Earth's turning underneath them, and that doesn't happen.
Yeah, let me re-say
Why
that.
do they?
Let me re-explain it in there, because I wanted to get my head around this, because like I know it's full of double speak and contradiction, and I wanted to get my head around it, because I wanted to understand it. Because I've just been putting it off, because Nathan does it. I don't need to, because Nathan gets his head, he's understood it, right? So what I realized was that what they're doing is they're saying that we wouldn't expect there to be any rotation, because the plane flies with the rotation of the Earth and conserves momentum, right?
Right.
So I was like, okay, let's work out what does that mean. And what I realized is that what they should be doing to conserve the 15 degrees an hour is you've got to do the radius down to the center of the Earth for Manchester, for instance, or Charlottesville in North Carolina. And then you've got to do the radius up to Los Angeles or somewhere in America, whichever. So you get your point A, your point B, and you've got to conserve your 15 degrees of rotation an hour. But the problem is that as the plane gains in elevation and gets higher, that the radius value is getting greater. So the distance between the start point and the end point is also getting bigger because the circumference is getting bigger.
Yes.
And that's inevitable. That's inevitable. They have to do that.
Yes,
But
even
to
if they move
compensate
in
for
lockstep
that,
motion, that's right. Even if they claim that there is no deviation, there's still going to be the advanced distances as you go higher up over the presupposed ball. That's true.
so they have to speed up to maintain that 15 degrees an hour. But obviously that requires putting energy in to maintain that speed, because the planes don't fly in degrees per hour; they travel in miles per hour.
Oh no,
So
no, sorry, I've got to correct your misunderstanding. No, it's not the plane that's violating the first law of thermodynamics. If their assumption stands true, God, I hate doing this. I hate working within the assumption that we don't have Coriolis effects when they're arguing with us. But there we go, that's what we're doing. Nevertheless, it's not the plane that's going to violate the first law, because it can just increase thrust, decrease thrust, whatever, relative to the claim that it's moving in relation to an Earth that's spinning with the atmosphere spinning in lockstep with it. Well, it's the atmosphere which is completely unattached to the ground beneath, which would have to have an increased velocity at the higher altitude. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's the air that they claim is moving along with the Earth that would have to increase its velocity with relation to the Earth at a higher altitude in order for that explanation to stand true. Well, that is the part that stands in violation of natural law. They're saying, well, it moves, the molecule that's near the ground is moving on the equator at 1,000 miles an hour, but as you increase in elevation, the Earth and atmosphere move in lockstep, total bollocks. But the higher altitude of elevation of atmosphere, oxymoron, is moving faster to keep up with the stuff below it, so they're all relatively moving at the same rate in lockstep. Well, that's the first law of thermodynamics violation right there.
Because the distance is different at elevation. So the only way they can do that is to put more thrust in. Now that means that they've got to travel at a faster speed, but we know they cruise at about 600 miles an hour. So because they're keeping the cruise speed the same, roughly, we also know that the distance then is being compromised, because speed equals distance over time. You can rearrange it, fix the speed, fix the distance, time is the effect. So there has to be a variation in flight times, and that's regardless of whether the Earth's turning or not. So it's like, there's no way around it, guys. You do have to have differences in time.
I think you have to stick with the molecule. I sent you a cool citation about it. I sent it to your Skype, but I also put it in Master B if you want to read it.
Right.
Well,
Nathan, you got some cabbage again, by the way.
Hold on, Alwyn. We'll go to Adam and then we'll come to you in a second. But if Chocolate can read it out, I've got it on screen.
Yeah, it says, bound to the Earth by gravity, most of the atmosphere spins along with it as a result of friction with the ground and viscosity or stickiness of the different layers of air above it. Above 200 kilometers, however, the incredibly thin atmosphere actually spins faster than the Earth. The cause of this bizarre super rotation effect remains unclear, but has also been detected on Venus.
Of course. So just Adam next. Sorry, thank you very much for reading it out, Chocolate. So, Adam, you there?
Yeah.
When air molecules,
you like that?
I do like that a lot. It's nonsense.
It makes the point actually that I was going to make. I wouldn't argue the plane. As you quite rightly said, the plane has the ability to change its own speed independent of any supposed applied forces. So if you get into that, there's wiggle room. I would just concentrate exactly where you said. The molecule at 1 kilometer, when it has a collision and goes up to 2 kilometers, it's only had elastic collisions. It cannot have increased its relative speed to maintain the same angular speed. That is a straight violation of the law of thermodynamics. It's derived more energy and speed from nowhere, only to maintain the premise that the atmosphere is in lockstep. That's the only reason that you're making this absurd violation.
It's not nowhere. They've got to just hold on.
Can I ask something?
Just hold on. No, it's not from nowhere. They say that there's a stickiness, i.e., it's being dragged along. It's the friction that they blame.
Yeah, and
but the air isn't a friction material. It's a resistive material, but it's not friction.
Correct. I just want Adam to say it again because he's the one who's bringing this up. So, in terms of the friction, how does that fit in with elastic collisions, Adam?
It doesn't, does it? And friction would, the way you would imply that would be to try and imply some kind of fluid dynamics with regards to large volumes of gases in the atmosphere. And that's what they're trying to apply there. But in terms of gas behavior, there is no friction. There's only diffusion in terms of these interactions. So there is no frictional forces that could then create the effect they're having. And most fundamentally, the effect they're having is basically getting something out of nothing. That's what they're asking to do, is to generate more energy from less energy, or more speed from the same collision. And
Perfect.
It's just not...
Perfect. I just want Arwin to go, then I want to summarise, because this is all in reference to an argument that doesn't exist for the globe. But go ahead, Arwin.
Cool. Well, let me step in as Baldwin and completely ruin the point you were going to make by telling you that I think that when an airplane travels, they don't actually take a Euclidean distance to derive their speed from. They actually use the ground distance to calculate their speed, relative speed, because effectively they would go faster, but it would be compensated by the lessening of the air friction due to lower atmosphere. Thus, they would effectively travel faster, but they would consider it based on ground-based speeds. So you wouldn't see that they would be traveling faster, but they would effectively be traveling faster. So there you go.
That was total nonsense. Anyway, this whole idea of whether or not the projectile in the example is moving faster or slower is completely irrelevant of the actual claim that the globe makes. The globe claims we have 15 degrees an hour deviation as the Earth rotates underneath. That effect is called Coriolis Effect. You, on a non-inertial turning reference frame, observing things not attached in the inertial reference frame seeming to drift as you turn underneath. For Earth to have this effect, we are turning underneath aeroplanes, hot air balloons, snipers' bullets, and footballs, as asserted by Neil deGrasse Tyson. All of those things would drift because it's claimed Earth turns underneath them to give you Coriolis deviation. It is claimed Earth has Coriolis deviation, and all of the arguments we are currently detailing, with the first law of thermodynamics violation, air being velcroed to the Earth, dragged along and increasing its velocity as it increases its altitude, increasing the radius that it's got to track along with, all of that nonsense is flying in the face of the actual globe claim. Because all of those things about retaining velocity means you don't have drift. And to observe things drifting as you turn underneath is Coriolis, and that's what they do claim Earth has. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I'm with that. Well, everything else, all the cool stories that they come up with are just trying to tell us why we don't see this drift. And as soon as they start doing that, they're already done.
Exactly.
Because the claim is we do have drift. I mean, it's that
they need adjustments, don't they? They need adjustments to compensate for why there is no apparent drift. We don't have planes flying north and south
curving.
You
a good explanation.
We give up. Giving us an argument that's got your explanation for why it tracks with the ground speed, first of all, that's going with our argument, first law of thermodynamics violation, when you say they're taking the ground speed, because that would be increasing in terms of the radius value. So that goes with our argument. Secondly, you gave a contradiction that we wouldn't see it, but it's happening. So I don't want to dissect your constant contradictions. There was at least 3 of them in that statement. Beautiful though it sounded, and there wasn't a single stutter. So maybe a few fundies will actually latch onto it and nod along.
Hold on. I wasn't claiming Coriolis drift. The opposite was.
I was getting better at this. That was brilliant. Sorry, kudos. Everyone give him kudos.
Go faster up there, but in a Euclidean setting, but they measure it based on the ground distance. So it's a bar-based speed.
Right, I'm going to have to stop this, right? All Armin's going to now do is rumpus the crap out of the conclusion by repeating the exact same shite through my demolition of it, totally ignoring any rebuttal and rumpusing the entire show. Now, that bit I'm not going to tolerate, Arwin. It's just not going to happen. So, no, I don't need a repetition of it, and I don't need to pull apart all 3 contradictions. 1 is enough. Plenty enough for me to then reiterate my point, which is what I will absolutely now do. Which is to say that it's claimed we have Coriolis deviation on an Earth that turns. That's only in effect if we're turning underneath things. Now, this whole argument is about not turning underneath things, not seeing drift, therefore not having Coriolis effect. And I'm glad Anthony's gone through the ringer and understood implicitly where their non-Coriolis argument for not having drift actually works and falls apart. Because you've got to understand that in case they bring it up, because if you don't, you can't debunk it. But the point I want to stress is that when you get to the point that they say, you're claiming Earth should turn underneath, recognise that it's a burden of proof reversal fallacy, and we are not claiming that. That is their claim that they're effectively arguing against because it doesn't happen. Nothing's demonstrating drift. Earth's not turning underneath. Well, they'd much rather fight for the position where Earth doesn't have to turn underneath to cause drift because we don't see that effect, and justify why we don't see that effect whilst assuming Earth is still turning. Well, that's an argument against Coriolis, and that's where the rubber stamp should come down with debunked. So you're going to now argue about how we don't have drift.
That's right. As a ball representative these days, I have to point out to you that you, as flat earthers, claim that the globe claims there is Coriolis drift.
Perfect. Arwin's timing's impeccable. Yes, kudos again, Arwin. So that is where the magic trick works, through cognitive dissonance rather than intelligence. They will assert that, oh, you're claiming... You're listening, Simon Dan? Yeah? Pay attention. You're claiming that we should have Earth turning underneath. Here's an example of a man and a trampoline moving together whilst travelling and him not drifting. He's not showing 15 degrees an hour turn of the Earth underneath him, exampled by 15 degrees an hour turn of maybe a roundabout underneath a trampoline. Because that would show drift, and that is Coriolis, and that is what the globe claims. But when they get to the wrangle-dangle and lose track of how their argument functions, they suddenly actually realise, like Simon Dan, that we're saying Earth should be turning underneath things. No, you complete clowns. That's just what the globe claims. You just can't defend it as an argument because it doesn't happen. Much easier to tell us that we're claiming it, right? No, and as Anthony actually said that on this show, well, no, it's not that I'm having the burden of proof reversal. I'm saying Earth would be rotating underneath X, Y, and Z. Well, no, you're not claiming that, Anthony. That's their claim. They just position it onto you so they can argue about how they don't see the effect because we don't see the effect of Coriolis effect.
Can I have one last remark and then I'll shut up as well, Win, please?
Give it to him, just so he shuts up.
Please?
Give it to him.
Yes. So, Nathan, technically, the reference frames of your ball model claim are ruined.
Yeah, the reference frames are used to claim a ball Earth turning underneath as a non-inertial reference frame, and the drift we observe in the inertial reference frame because we turn underneath. That would be 2 reference frames, non-inertial spinning ball Earth, and inertial whatever is travelling through it and not actually drifting, only seeming to because you turn underneath it. That's 2 reference frames needed to claim Earth spins. What's that, Simon Dan? What's that I hear you saying to your audience and doesn't need explanation? Might make it onto the most stupid Nathan list, rather than explaining why you're debunking the globe Coriolis claim that needs 2 reference frames. Yeah, that's because he's so stupid he doesn't realise that they're actually reversing the burden of proof when they put it on us to prove Earth turns underneath stuff with 2 reference frames. They're just thick. They don't understand their own double-speak cognitive dissonance nonsense.
I agree, but
I tricked you. I said your ball claim, and you said
What?
yes.
You said you were going to stop.
Last
I was
word,
arguing
I thought.
I was arguing with Admasto and Zanuck, and they said our explanation is stupid because it's impossible to leave reference frames. That's what they told me.
You don't have to leave a reference frame to observe Coriolis effect. Anything that's not in the inertial reference frame would be attached to, in the Coriolis example, the non-inertial reference frame that's spinning, and that is where the observation takes place from. So you don't have to leave the reference frame, quite the contrary. You have to be on the turning reference frame, looking at things, moving through the air, and going, oh, look at that plane! It looks like it's drifting. It looks like it's taking a curved path. Well, it's only doing that because we've got Coriolis effect. It's actually me on a turning Earth, non-inertial reference frame, turning underneath it. And it's in a separate second reference frame. You didn't have to leave to watch that claim to be happening effect that we don't observe. And if we did observe planes seeming to curve, then we'd be turning underneath them, shortening their flight times.
That's
Who
what
keeps
I told
rumpusing
them,
who keeps rumpusing G plus? What's going on?
Bro, that's
rumpusing G
Zannick's,
plus. Who's rumpusing G plus?
No, I was just saying, I told them that, and they went right away to the projectile then. So they jumped back and forth to arguments.
No, see, but that's Zannick's little okey doke, right? He'll try to keep you focused on the projectile and say, well, yeah, you can't leave reference frames. Well, you're not talking about you. You're talking about the observation of the object that just left the reference frame. In the inertial reference frame that you see curving because you're still on the non-inertial reference frame, that's Zannick's little trick. He likes to try to get people with that crap. Just because you're still looking at it doesn't mean it left your reference frame. It's not attached to the non-inertial reference frame anymore. Zannick, you're already done. Right
Doesn't matter. You're not detailing what the projectile does. So it leaving, it's like, it doesn't have to be leaving. It could enter your field of view already in the inertial reference frame, like a plane entering your sky. Well, it's claimed that that plane will drift because you're turning underneath it. That's Coriolis effect. It's claimed a globe has that. So look at that plane that's just come into view. Well, it's not that it's left your turning reference frame or that you observed that effect happening. It's you watching it seem to drift on a turning reference frame. And that claim is supposed to be the thing that proves we spin. You looking at things seem to drift as they move straight, but you're turning underneath them, causing a not actual effect to be observed. But that not actual effect is only induced if you're turning underneath stuff, and observing it seem to drift. But the observation is you on a non-inertial turning reference frame claimed to be a turning Earth. So we've got to have drift for us to prove we're spinning, and we don't have drift, so there's no proof we're spinning. Them just begging the question that they all turn together so that they can nicely, conveniently demonstrate how we don't have drift, but I can still assume it's all travelling together in violation of the first law, doesn't cut the mustard when the globe actually does claim we've got Coriolis effect. They just defy it here in the trenches because it's not demonstratable. Nothing's drifting.
Maybe that's why they call it a pseudo force, because it's not demonstratable.
It's not that it's not demonstratable why it's called a pseudo force. It's because the force isn't applicable to the projectile. As you watch the plane move through your field of view, if you're on a roundabout and you go, look at it, it's just turned around in the air. Oh no, it's going the same way again. Oh, it's turned around in the air. No, you're just turning underneath it on a bloody roundabout. Well, that effect of it seeming to turn around but not actually is the plane moving in a straight path over your head and you seeing it seem to completely change direction as you turn underneath it. Well, you are actually turning underneath it. Now, let's say for the sake of argument that that was a drone instead of a plane, and it looks like it's coming towards you and going away on the roundabout. Well, if it was in your path, you would still smack into it. So despite it being a pseudo effect, it's not that the drone's just flown into your face. You've moved into its path because you're turning underneath it. So yeah, the pseudo force of Coriolis was the effect, but it definitely still made contact with your face even though it was hovering. The reason it's called a pseudo force is because it wasn't the force of somebody holding the controls for the drone intentionally flying it at your face. You were just on a roundabout turning towards it. And likewise, Los Angeles would be turning towards an aeroplane as it was in the air, shortening the flight time, something that does not happen.
Right, Nathan, can I ask a YouTube technical question? Because I don't see the chat in the YouTube video. Is that on purpose or?
I don't tend to put it up as much because it's members only. Is there something interesting going on in there?
Well, there's lots of super chats.
They'll get left out, I promise.
All right, just asking.
We're into it, man. We're into the nitty-gritty of what I've now come to realise isn't through intelligence. They're not claiming not to have drift because they're smart. They're claiming it because they're in cognitive dissonance. We point out there's no drift, there's no 15 degrees an hour, even though it's absolutely claimed to be happening by footballs, bullets, pendulums, and gyroscopes. It's claimed to be an Earth turn underneath for not actual deflection. That's Coriolis effect. It's absolutely claimed Earth has Coriolis. We point out there isn't any. They get into arguing about why there isn't any and justifying why there isn't any. Well, that's simultaneously holding two positions. Earth has Coriolis effect, an observation of not actual deflection as you turn underneath, and Earth doesn't have Coriolis effect. You wouldn't see 15 degrees an hour turn of the Earth. You and your reference frames are ruined. That's cognitive dissonance. Now, that's a position where they will mentally do the gymnastics without even trying, because you can't hold two positions simultaneously. When you do, we get the convoluted cluster screw of nonsense that we get in regards to this subject. Not through intelligence, through cognitive dissonance. Holding two positions simultaneously that are in stark contrast to one another. Earth has drift, 15 degrees an hour, turn of the Earth, underneath things not attached. Earth doesn't have drift. Earth and atmosphere move as one, not demonstrating anything moving apart. Those are two completely different positions. Only one can be true, and it's the latter. There is no drift. Not because we assume Earth's turning and atmosphere's turning with it, but because there just isn't any drift. Well, the drift that we're supposed to have would be because Earth's turning underneath, and it is not. It's just that simple. I can summarise it because I don't hold both positions. And when it's claimed, you say Earth's turning underneath planes. Well, no, we don't claim that. No, I don't claim it either. You do. You're just about to launch into a defence of why we don't observe the effect that's supposed to prove Earth spins.
Yeah, I seen that Coriolis too when I was driving around the roundabout in the Bronx. I'll never forget that. I looked up and I saw a plane and it was deviating. So, and I mean, you could demonstrate it on a roundabout as well. I don't understand what the problem is.
Coriolis is real, and it's claimed Earth has the effect. When we detail the effect of Coriolis, they tell us how it shouldn't be happening. And the reason they tell us why it shouldn't be happening is because it isn't happening.
It's the adjustment that's necessary to hide the fact that it's missing.
Exactly. Right, I'm going to do a few shout-outs. So, shout-out to Del West Watson, who says, some cabbage! And then a little call me sign, I think. No, it's a thumbs up, my bad. So shout-out to Del West Watson again for the cabbage. Really appreciate the support. Here we go. Retro Bill, more cabbage. The necessary antecedent to coleslaw. Thank you very much for the $15 Retro Bill. I really appreciate the cabbage. I mean, the support. Shout-out to Julio Pabon, who's making a Caesar salad and says, some cheddar. Thank you very much indeed for the super chats. God, I hope this meme doesn't continue. Although I do appreciate the support. So, yes, Del West Watson's drawn a close to that cabbage and said, dosh! Much appreciated, really appreciate it. And the thumbs up that goes with it. Sasha, or Unitox Femu, who's on the panel currently, says, Simon Dan proved that we can jump on a tractor. Indeed. He also reiterated the fact that there's no drift and gave an example of a man not drifting at 15 degrees an hour, which was very nice of him. You know, we appreciate that sort of thing. Another shout out to Retro Bill, who says, Fight the Flat Earth is still chanting that Coriolis is, quote, all about conservation of momentum, end quote. Boy, these guys are thick. Yeah, that's what cognitive dissonance will do for you. When you have a detailed explanation of how Earth should have Coriolis effect, that's 15 degrees an hour drift, he'll go on about how conservation of momentum explains how that is Coriolis effect, the example of no drift. Right on. Then, last but by no means least, another shout out to James Richard. If you walk into a seafood place wearing a mask and you can smell the seafood, the mask is not stopping a virus. This is the so-called science that so-called scientists are telling us to do. Damn Globers. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Off topic, but very amusing.
Hey, Nathan.
Yes.
All this cabbage certainly will help your YouTube celery.
Celery? Oh, that's priceless. Best pun to date. I'll slow gags. Keep them up. Anyway, any evidence you can have gas?
A little. That last one.
It bugged you? What? Do you sell masks?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, a virus size and a aromatic compound size are very, very different. The thing I wouldn't say is whether I think the masks could stop that you necessarily breathe it in if all the air you breathed in went through the filter, and if none of the air you breathed out went through the filter, then they might have a role. But I think in terms of molecule size, that's a bit harsh. You will smell a fart, won't you? But they're much smaller molecules. The issue is, I love the ones we've seen where people are in the cold and they breathe out, and you just see these plumes of gas, because gas goes in all directions, you know. So when you breathe, it doesn't go, oh, I'll go through the filter. It's nearest, due to entropy, its quickest route out of that mask is the route it'll take, which tends to be the less sealed areas around your face.
Right. It takes the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hey, Adam, don't the M95 masks, don't they have a valve, though? So it only stops you from breathing something in, but when you exhale, whatever you're breathing out still goes out through the valve.
I'm struggling to hear you, but I'm not.
Too much background noise, Paul. Try again.
Okay, sorry. Maybe she'll stop. Don't the M95 masks, though, have a valve when you breathe out?
Yeah, a pressure release valve. Yeah. Is that pressure release valve require more or less pressure than the hole at the side of your nose?
It needs more pressure. So it really wouldn't stop the virus if you're breathing out, which that's what they're saying about the mask are supposed to do. That's my point.
Okay, I think Adam's point is that when you breathe out, you're going to find that the gases take the path of least resistance. It's like if you fill a sieve and it's filled with such a velocity of water that it can overflow the top of it, it's not going to continue to go through the holes in the sieve. It'll just spill over the top because that's a lesser resistive path. Well, it's the same with the gases. They're just going to take the path of least resistance.
No, I get that. My point, though, is they're saying that these N95 masks prevent the virus. If they've got a valve in it and the filter it's not being filtered out, then really the N95 mask is not stopping. Unless everybody's wearing an N95 mask, it would not stop the virus. That's my point.
Look, I don't really want to get into this. We've got a lot of Orwellian nonsense currently about masks. Hold on, Neil.
Sorry.
Hold on. We've got a lot of Orwellian nonsense, right, in terms of masks, because for every single report that you will read about the masks being 100% effective or effective in some manner, you'll read another contrasting description that says they're completely ineffective for various different reasons. Now, this is Orwellian, and personally, I'm just not... all of it's nonsense. I just don't want to get into this. Adam, do you want to close out this somehow? Hopefully you can draw a summary to this.
I think we'll keep it that, again, irrespective, it's a good demonstrator, what we're discussing there, about gas behaviour, things we know. And it's that gas behaviour that raises the question there. And it's that gas behaviour that ballers want to contradict. Or exactly what we were just talking about in terms of what Tony brought up.
Epic.
It's that gas behaviour that they're denying.
Perfect. You've done the perfect segue. Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
You need a container for a vacuum on Earth as well, don't you? You can't have a vacuum on Earth without a container. What makes you think that you can have pressure in space without a container if you can't have a vacuum on Earth without a container?
Fair enough. Any evidence that you can have a vacuum without a container?
2 containers.
Someone explain that in case there's any
containers.
Hold on, there might be newbie audience members that don't get that in joke. Can you, either Chocolate or someone else, anybody, explain why that's funny?
Because somebody tried to prove how you could have gas pressure without a container using 2 containers.
Indeed. You challenge a fundy to show gas pressure without a container, and your most common response will be showing up with 2 containers to demonstrate gas pressure without a container. Unbelievable. James, thank you for the super chat. You don't need to apologise for bringing up the mask thing. You're super chatting to do it. You don't need to apologise. Far from it. Anyway, thank you very much for the super chat. Technically, you just brought it back
That
up, though,
reminded me.
just in case you were actually genuinely feeling guilty.
Oh gosh.
Any evidence
Yeah,
of
I'm
this?
still.
Go on.
No, I was going to say I'm still stuck on the seafood versus smell food. So I mean, if you're seeing when it first came up, it go seafood. Okay, well then it went to smell food, but lost the power of that when it happened.
Hopefully, we can unmask the distance to the sun next.
Very nice.
No. What is the sun?
I don't know. That's not what I want. Distance to it. There's a claimed one out there.
No, they can't measure it. They've never measured it. I like your unmasked intro, though.
Got to segue somehow, thanks to James. Any evidence?
Why can't we get there?
No, it's all the interruptions, Neil. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating?
Yeah, I want to know why we can't get to the sun. Come on, this is not.
Oh, I thought you meant the next housekeeping question.
Today.
Sorry, that was completely unreasonable of me. I thought you were segueing, and you were actually very much on topic with distance to the sun. Why can't we get there? As in, why can't we get to the sun? Very good question. I don't know. Ask Icarus.
I think that would be
There
based
was an
on
article that came
your
out.
prior question, which was, what is the sun? I think we'd have to know what that is first.
Well, I see it every day.
There was
So
an article.
something.
Paul, trying to get a word in there?
So there was an article back in the day when North Korea supposedly landed on the sun. So that's real, right?
There was an article that said that what landed on the sun?
North
North
Korea
Korea.
landed on the sun.
Well, that's why.
Wasn't that when they? Wasn't that when they went at night?
No, that's why their names start with Sun, Young Moon.
So did Chocolate just say it's okay they went at night?
Yes.
That's priceless. It's okay, they went to the sun. No, they went at night. It was okay.
Exactly.
Wouldn't JLB debunk that by saying that North Korea doesn't exist?
He doesn't say, he never says anything in such absolute terms. I'm going to defend JLB on this, right? He puts the question out there for you to ponder, right? He wouldn't. I doubt you will be able to find an explicit quote from JLB where he says North Korea doesn't exist.
No, I agree there. But he did really raise a good point. It could all just be. You're not allowed to go there. Who knows what's there? Could be Disneyland.
I agree. It's
You're
shrouded
not
in
allowed
mystery.
to go there?
Well, it's not that you're not allowed to. Well, yeah, to a certain extent. I mean, when I was in South Korea, obviously it was quite interesting to me to ask them about North Korea and what they knew about it, and they knew virtually nothing. Yeah, very, very little. All they parroted back to me when I asked was the propaganda that I already knew from the telly. That's all they gave me in South Korea. Very little.
Well, we have the same problem here in the States. There's West Virginia, but there's no East Virginia.
Yeah, but they're not putting out pictures of like the same roadway every time with like what looks like fake missiles that are held together with sellotape and dreams rolling down the same roadway in each bit of propaganda in East Virginia, are they?
Well, maybe they got the same backstage crew that gives NASA all their props.
Why are you pushing me onto this like semi-interesting subject that I'm absolutely in no way keen to get out into my public arena, right? This sort of speculation from JLB, I highly encourage you all go and look at JLB speculation. And as I say, it is him putting it in your court for you to speculate about these things, right?
Any evidence of nuclear weapons?
Oh my God, what is the show to come? Look, I can show you, right, nuclear weapons are totally ineffective against cameras. So you can find plenty of footage of things getting blown up, right? And the cameras are fine, so it's all real.
That used to bug me out. I was like, wait a minute. How is this camera just filming this explosion and the camera's just chilling? I don't
Chocolate.
understand.
Chocolate.
Even as a kid, I was like, wait a minute.
Chocolate.
What is that? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's the same camera that they took to the moon that filmed their takeoff from the moon.
Oh, like the super level Hasselblad. Yeah.
But they have an answer for that, don't they?
I don't know. Probably. Who cares?
Keep the Maltesers. I'll have the Maltesers.
I'll have the Maltesers. Anthony is in a shop.
Sorry.
Off mute.
Yeah.
Look. You better be ordering me a Maltese. I don't know what that is, but
Sounds
I'll
good.
take one.
Sorry, I thought.
Yeah, I've muted you, you bugger. Sorry, I was just getting my Maltesers ordered.
I thought it was on mute.
Yes, we know. You don't have to just.
Can you give me an egg sandwich while you're there?
You were on mute, and then you unmuted to make everyone hear that you're ordering a Maltese. Now I want to know what that
That'd be
is.
a sunny side egg.
Oh God!
She's deciding whether to give Ferrero Rochers to someone or Maltesers, and I'm like, give me the Maltesers.
Hello, educational live show running.
I know.
Next question.
Yeah, but that's chocolate, though. That's good stuff.
Somebody shoot me in the head.
Next question. Come on, next question.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the center of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Nonsense.
Ferrero Rochers.
Not bad.
That's
Not
a good
bad.
one.
Yeah. Very
It
good.
actually has a core, so you're not that
And
bad.
it's molten.
I would have also
Not quite
accepted.
iron, but
I would have
It's
also
chocolate.
accepted. I would have also accepted Cadbury's cream egg
Yeah, yeah.
if I can get it in.
I think we should have Ferrero Rochers as a legitimate answer.
It's gonna be my answer now.
Yo, you got to put that up as a meme.
Ferrero Rochers are legit, man. Yum. Coming up to New Year, otherwise known as Easter.
Hang on, have we not missed one?
Yeah, we've missed several.
No,
We're all
missed the
over the
housekeeping
place.
question.
We haven't missed anything. You've just not been paying attention.
Okay, we need to go back to the gravity one.
We'll get there. You want it now? Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Yes, there is a claim, Nathan. Someone sent me a link. His name is Water's Always Flat or Water's Always Level or something like that. And he had a debate with Fight the Flat Earth yesterday or the day before. And you can check it out on Fight the Flat Earth channel. And Fight the Flat Earth claims that there are 5 scientifically verified, experimentally proven pieces of evidence for gravity. I'd like to see these, Fight the Flat Earth. So if you ever feel free, join, present them, and we'll tell you why they're not scientific evidences at all.
Need
For big
five,
Give them, he
space-time?
did explain what they were.
5 sets of hypotheses with 5 observed phenomena, presumably all the same, right? They'll all be gravity. So all we need is...
Well, one of them was the Eddington experiment. That's just simply an observation, but he cites that as a proof of gravity. Well, we know that it's just a observation, so that lacks experimental application. So it cannot be an experimental validation of gravity. But we need to know what his definition of gravity is here as well.
So the Eddington, to my memory, was supposedly, I think Adam put the picture of the telescope they used. Some star was seen from behind the sun or something like that.
Yeah.
How's that prove gravity?
Sounds like an observation to me.
Hold on.
It was a
Go on.
It was a claim that supported Einstein's theory of bendy light, but Craig's presenting it as an argument to prove gravity. And he hasn't got any. Well, I don't want to put words in his mouth because I don't know how he explains it, but I'd love to hear it.
We get it right.
That's supposed to be the experimental validation for the.
Hold on. So if it's experimental, right, it's an observed phenomena with an explanation of its presumed cause being validated by an experiment. What you say, it sounds like what you're presenting is an observed phenomena that isn't gravity. Am I correct?
I think so. I don't want to put words into his mouth, but it sounds that way, yeah.
Well, that sounds like bad news for the claim of experimentation then, doesn't it? Especially if the claim of experimentation is supposed to be proving gravity.
Yeah, it's not good at all.
Didn't that also come 4 years after the general theory of relativity was even proposed?
I just want to get one more thing in. Sorry, it's on that lines though, Chocolate. I just wanted anybody who doesn't give me... So people don't give me crap in the comments. The reason I've positioned gravity in this instance as the dv, the dependent variable, the observed phenomena, is because that is expressly what it is described as currently by Einsteinian descriptions. So just in case anyone says, well, no, we're going to have the IV, the cause of gravity, not that they're ever going to be varying and manipulating that, but that's besides the point. Currently, the effect is gravity. That's the current pseudoscience. So therefore, dv's got to be gravity if he's claiming science for it. It's like, what are you going to be varying and manipulating to validate cause of this effect? Well, if he's going to be, again, claiming gravity, he better be claiming that he's bending space-time as the effect. Now, that could be loosely tied to the phenomena you gave me. Loosely, I say. But if you're not distributing mass in some uneven way as the cause, then this isn't Einsteinian gravity that he's going to be validating. Not to mention the fact that all of those descriptions that I've positioned as IVs and DVs are only taking place in conceptual mass anyway. None of this is physical. So this is nonsense right off the bat. But I just wanted to position it correctly with the DV being described as the effect of gravity, which is what it's currently described with by Einstein.
He did make a couple of other interesting claims. One of the claims, he said he understands scientific method very well, and he gave an example of an independent variable being the sun moving across the night sky, across the day sky. He said if you sit there at midday and the moon's at zenith, and then 10 minutes later it's moved by some degree, then he says that is a valid scientific independent variable. And he even got his audience to confirm with him that he was correct. And all of his audience think that the sun is a valid independent variable because you can allow it to just move, and then that is manipulation according to them. And I was like, I can't believe I'm hearing this. This is outrageous.
Well, I'll clarify what qualifies as an independent variable in a second, but I will shout out James Richards first, although there is a couple of other super chats that I'll shout out as well. But just try and remember what James Richards said because it's on topic. If the sun cannot be triangulated and located, and we don't know what it is, gathering a measurement to its distance is impossible. Very succinctly said. Thank you very much for the super chat, James Richard. Also, Acumvirus, my bad. Unitox Femu says, Acumvirus, the problem is they don't understand. So thank you very much for the super chat. And also, Julia Pabon says, Dos pesos. Thank you very much indeed.
Nathan, before you go, did Anthony just say Fight the Flat Earth said that his claim was the sun moved?
His claim was that the sun moving across the day sky is a valid independent variable.
What's moving? The sun or the
sun?
Earth?
The sun.
It's interesting.
Okay.
Yes, do you see his point, Anthony?
Yeah. He's arguing that it's flipped it the other way around so that it's Earth rotating would be the independent variable in his model.
Right. Well, Anthony, all they have to do is, does the time change on the clock as the sun moves across the sky?
Yes, it does.
It's worse
So,
than that, Tony.
so that's the cause. That's the cause.
That's correct.
The time's always the cause in a scientific experiment, apparently.
No.
Tam's right. Fundamentally, that's so perverted because they're saying that it is amanipulable, and therefore suggesting that even if you could manipulate his path, but fundamentally, that's not what they're saying is happening in their model. That path is a Coriolis path due to our rotation.
Correct. In other words, if you're going to say, well, that sun's movement is going to be my independent variable, it's like, well, it's only a not actual drift of the sun. It's claimed to be Earth turning underneath that causes that motion. So you're going to say the not actual movement of the sun is your independent variable? Well, no.
Yeah.
Also,
So let's
isn't
put
the independent variable supposed to be purposely manipulated by the researcher or scientist?
Thank you. Yes, Chocolate. Yes, you reminded me. I said I'd cover that. So that you've got to have three criteria if you're going to be an independent variable or qualify as being an independent variable. One is it's your presumed cause of the effect. In other words, that is the thing that you're going to say is going to cause the effect that you're observing or studying. So if you vary it, it causes it. It is the presumed cause. Secondly, it's got to be real. In other words, there's no varying and manipulating gravity or bending conceptual mediums or anything of that sort of nature. Abstract things cannot be varied and manipulated. So it's got to be real. Third, it's got to be variable by you, the researcher. You have got to be physically able to vary and manipulate that which you assume causes the effect. For it to be a variable, it's got to be real, you've got to be able to vary it, and by definition, it is your presumed cause of the effect.
What happened to just wiggle it?
Yeah, wiggle it, exactly. That's the part 3. You've got to be capable of varying and manipulating it. Well, that's Anthony's wiggle it just a little bit, is you being able to vary it. Vary it is wiggle it.
Yeah, we don't hear it no more, though. I thought that was going to catch on.
He got several copyright claims.
Yeah, it lost momentum. It didn't conserve its angular momentum, did it?
Yeah, it's because after a while, science doesn't prove things anymore. So.
Oh, that was the other thing he said. Science doesn't prove anything. He said it disproves things.
Which is cool, because he was just trying to present science to you, huh?
Do I have to cover that?
I don't know how he knows all these things, though. I mean, I can understand it if he was new to the topic, but he absolutely knows all these things. He was literally lying to his audience. So what I do want to do, he pointed out to his own audience that he's challenged Quantum Eraser for a debate on any show at any time. Fight the Flat Earth, you can join this show anytime you want. But if you are going to join, it's to debate. It's not to reproduce and rebroadcast. It's to actually prove that gravity has got 5 experimentally valid scientific proofs for gravity. That's what you need to demonstrate. So look forward to that happening never.
No, he'll just rumpus the whole time. He's been here.
When he came here, he was just worried about how many viewers he had instead of actually proving his claim of gravity. Which he told us is gravity creates the force of gravity, which was hilarious. Whatever that means.
He kept calling Nathan Flappy.
Yeah, he claimed that he destroyed Nathan and that Quantum Eraser's scared of him. And he ignored, he rejects the argument that we just don't have time for him because the guy's an idiot. He thinks that we think that he's an idiot is just something that he can flip off. No, you are an idiot, Fight the Flat Earth. You lie about to your audience about things that you know are false, and you did it in that hangout with that guy. It's just, I don't know how you get away with it. I honestly don't.
Is that why you care?
He's more worried about his subs.
I don't care. And neither does Quantum
Eraser. I care because what he's providing is some form of education, but it's the same education that we got when we were kids. It's the stuff that makes you think things that are not actually true.
It's not his fault. It's not his fault. If the sheep are going to be dumb enough to believe him, it's their fault too.
So Retro Bill's got a question for you, Anthony. It says, but Anthony, if time can be bent, as in space-time, surely it can be an independent variable.
If time can be bent, it can be in... Yeah, you go on and bend time.
Exactly. Perfect. Show us that, Retro Bill. Just show us time. That would be the concept of time. And once you've done that, which you won't, show us you bending it.
Yeah.
Thank you for the super chat, in all seriousness. Thank you very much. Your point has clearly been made by Anthony. Very well. Thanks, Anthony. Thanks, Retro Bill. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Not yet.
9.
Last but by no means least, any evidence of the R value, that would be Earth radius.
That's been debunked by the Black Swan.
If the Earth is a sphere, radius 3959, then every distance to horizon, that would be the physical geometric spheroid horizon formerly claimed to block boats and buildings with its physicality, can be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. We have demonstrated beyond all certitude that the horizon is beyond the physical limitations of a geometric sphere edge that's claimed to block boats and buildings into the distance with its physicality by showing it beyond the parameters in the Black Swan image, i.e. the horizon is beyond 10 miles, when it's supposed to be at 1.2, beyond its physical geometric limitations, debunking the notion that we have a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon. And oh, how they cry, nobody claims the horizon is Earth curve. The geometric horizon only exists in the maths, even though it's claimed to be proven out by looking at a horizon and basing how much it's blocked stuff at the bottom with a feet and inches value based on its physicality. So the globe has been debunked. Look into the black swan if you haven't already.
So if the geometric horizon only exists in the math, why were they saying all these years, prior to the black swan, that is, that it was the reason to block the bottoms of boats and buildings?
Because until then we hadn't identified that the geometric limitations of a sphere-edge geometric horizon would be at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet and no further than. As soon as they are beyond those distances, their limitations have been broken as geometric, and their excuse thereafter is to say that it's bent. The line to the horizon is being refracted. Therefore, not geometric, not a tangent point. The horizon's not a tangent point claimed as being physical anymore, and you can't do geometry. And that would be the end of the globe model, as it's claimed to be a physical geometric sphere edge that's claimed to be the horizon, and they're telling us how non-geometric, non-physical it is currently in rebuttal to this black swan argument.
What a victory.
Indeed. With that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who liked, shared, commented, joined, smashed the super chat, and all that good stuff. Another massive thank you to Michael. You know who you are, for supporting me all this good time over on PayPal. So massive thank you to Michael. Below this video there is a link to get £50 back for you if you swap your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
Going for first, and they crash in a big fire.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. Yeah, I haven't seen it though. Hey, good show today.
Yeah, I love it when the housekeeping questions are really nicely staggered over the whole hour of the live show. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I kind of like it when a fundie comes in and you rip them apart.
You kind of like it.
Fun
You
too.
glowed. You glowed over.
Yeah,
it. What are you
yeah,
talking
yeah. I
about?
love it.
Yeah, you've got the fight and you want the fight.
Well, it's the cognitive dissonance, holding opposing thoughts at the same time, and then they're trying to defend one of them. That's when the rubber meets the road, so to speak. And it's just they're falling apart, but they don't even realize they're falling apart.
Well, how long you think this guy will be gone getting more material? What's his name? The geometry science guy.
Let's say something or other. I know what you mean. Something or
What do
other.
you say, 2 or 3 days?
I don't know, Neil. You got it right last time. I don't know. Can lightning strike twice in terms of your prediction of this guy's habits as he fights
I
this
say by
cognitive dissonance?
Thursday.
If you're right, it'll be here by Wednesday, is what you're saying.
Thursday.
Thursday, okay. That's very specific.
Is that your sub account, Neil?
That's my prediction. I'm Mystic Meg.
When people like that come along, it always makes me think of that still that I've got of the 5 stages of loss. You know, anger, denial, bargaining, depression, acceptance.
You know, that was in that movie that Anthony was talking about, The Vanished.
Yeah.
It was a crazy
It was on
movie.
Netflix. Have you watched it?
Yeah, I watched it, and he went over the 5 stages of grief, and I was laughing because I'm thinking of the ballers.
Yeah. And that folie à deux is what all the blurfers do. They all have this delusion where they're on a sphere, and when 2 of them they get together, they form that folie à deux. They both hold each other's own delusion in support of each other. They both live out that delusion together.
So the whole beginning of the movie, they were actually watching a video, and that wasn't going on with the girl, right?
No, it was either in his mind or it was historic. Yeah, it was a memory. It must have been a memory.
Crazy movie.
Right, one for chocolate.
But you can see the comparisons with the Blurthers, though, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're joint in psychosis. They're all lumbered together in the same nonsense. But occasionally the cracks appear. Like, again, I can't help highlighting it with Simon Dan. You know, while they're all indulging in this fantasy that those stupid flat earthers think that the Earth should turn underneath as a second non-inertial reference frame. Let's go and debunk them, and they all cheer together, not realizing how stupid they are. Or when they go barging into battle, declaring that water vapor isn't gas. You know, that's where it all falls apart, because they're all joined together, cheering and chanting, not realizing how stupid they're actually being.
And they also want to do harm to you at times. That's what happened in this movie. They want to hurt you.
Yeah, that's part of the anger stage. Denial and anger. Well, normally we get that here because it goes from the abject denial, nah, these stupid flat earthers, to, what do you mean Earth doesn't turn underneath? We don't say it does! And then they get into by expressing that verbally, bargaining. That's the stage we're at. Like, it's seldom that we see someone like Father of a Stolen Child come along, or who's the other one, the recent guy, the black guy, did a rap recently. What's his name? Tommy. It's not often that you see examples like Tommy, where they come along in anger. You see them go through the bargaining stage. They realise where they can't win their points, and then climb over the fence into depression, and then acceptance, and then they're making raps about flat Earth. You don't normally see that progression. We just normally see the backwards step. So from bargaining to anger, and then denial. Sometimes they might launch back into the bargaining stage again, so you go in that perpetual circle.
Nathan, do you remember Tommy when he first came in?
Yes, annoying.
Yeah, you're damn right I did.
And I'm so glad.
I named his whole show after him. The show, if you want to see Tommy, prior to changing to the flat Earth side of the argument, the show's called Tommy Was a Globehead.
Yeah, but I'm so glad because he was so obnoxious and annoying, and now he's obnoxious and annoying to them.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is still obnoxious and annoying to everybody, I think. But nevertheless, it's one of those that in that show, you could still see his comprehension level. That's why the show got the title it did, because it's past tense. So even though he left the show like most of them going, you're all idiots, no, you're wrong, and I've argued my points validly and you haven't, I still phrased the title of the show, Tommy Was a Globehead, in past tense, because, rightly so, I might add, he was relinquishing that belief based on the arguments being valid. And he said after the fact, I listened to him talking on this subject after he debated somebody, I forget who, and he was explaining how he just went through the logical steps based on the arguments, couldn't overcome them, and realised the logical implication, and then moved on. And at the end of that process, he was a flat earther.
Yep.
Well, he must have had a sense of relief like no other, because he went from holding two opposing positions at one time, now just holding one position.
Yeah, sleepless nights immediately disappear. Cognitive dissonance keeps you up at night.
Yeah, he's rang me a few times recently, and he's been chatting to me about gas pressure and conspiracy cats, and I keep telling him, like, conspiracy cats can't get past a certain point, and he gets it. It's just that when it gets pushed to the moment and he has to do it when it's live, it's not that easy to put it together. So he's kind of learning how to debate now, rather than he understands the arguments. He's now learning how to debate. But again, that's still progression, because it takes time for that to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen to some of the old shows where I'm sat in stunned silence for the vast majority of them, because I don't know what the hell to say to the arguments. If you don't know, you don't know. Better to say nothing, though, I might add.
I still find myself like thinking about the globe, like wanting to defend it sometimes, and then I kind of snapping out of it.
Really? I've never felt like defending it.
Oh, I have. Unless I'm in a different frame of mind to Father of a Stolen Child in this regard, because it's normally that some flat earther will put up some straw man about how the globe says something happened, and you're like, that isn't how they claim it. Now, I'm a former NASA fanboy and enthusiast for the heliocentric model, more so than average normie is all I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm some expert, but you still hear certain things parroted out by people on your own side, if you want to put it in that way, flat Earth versus globe Earth. And you're like, no, the heliocentric model doesn't claim that. The amount of times I hear people telling me about an impossible moon, I'm like, oh, no, it isn't. Have you looked? Have you seen how it's modelled in the heliocentric model? Well, no, because from my position here on the ground, the amount of times I hear that, and you do want to correct them. It's like, if you go around spouting that that's impossible, and then someone just actually shows you it modelled, what are you going to do? Defect back to the globe because your stupid assertion's been proven wrong because you haven't researched it correctly based on what they actually claim. So you do find yourself wanting to correct people's incorrect assertions about what they think from total ignorance the heliocentric model claims. And often they're not right.
The selenium is an issue, though. That is wrong.
Yeah, that's why it gets the title, though, doesn't it? It's what's it called in the heliocentric model, Anthony?
The impossible eclipse.
So they write, like any bad bit of news, right? Don't put it in the text that it doesn't work in a heliocentric model. Put it on the title of the book, right? Well, what are we going to talk about today? Well, today, kids, we're going to talk about the impossible eclipse. Impossible eclipse? Yeah, we're going to talk about how it's possible. Here's our excuses for it. But the fact that it isn't possible, we're going to put that right on the cover of the book.
That's called the rumpus technique, isn't it?
Yeah, wear it out there on your sleeve, right up front, right up at the beginning. Did you hear him do it recently? Well, okay, so the gas particles are accelerating upwards at 500 meters per second, and before he could take breath, everyone on the panel knew what was happening. Going up, you say? Oh, right, what happened to gravity? You know, you're not going to get your chance to just put your title of your bullshit out there that flies in the face of your claim to then justify away why the title of the book flies in the face of the claim you're making. Now, we'll just stick with the title of the book, but that will slip by most people.
Yeah, but it's going up at the same time it's coming down. What's hard to understand?
Because the balls go down, go boom, boom when they pour them into a fish tank, but yet these particles are going up. So long as we can brush past the fact that they're automatically flying in the face of a claim that everything's going down at 9.8 meters per second, we just must accept that they're going up and then explain how they're going actually down. Just forget about the fact that we're actually going up. Now, we like to highlight those things that come out of their mouths nice and early. If they're adept at debating, they're losing points. Get the awkward bit, the bit that's wrong, out of the way really quickly and fast. Hopefully while everyone's talking.
Well, they're embracing the fiction in their science, pseudoscience, excuse me. When he came on and said light does not come in parallel to Earth, he just destroyed everything. He has no clue.
Well, when he claims that something is that gas is accelerating towards the Earth at 9.8 meters per second, that makes gravity a force, but they don't subscribe to that model anymore. So, like, he knows what he's saying isn't true. I don't understand why he did it.
So we can get the explanation without us objecting to gas basically being analogous to a single atom when you compare it to a bouncy ball. Well, because a bouncy ball will go up and then come back down again, he's saying that a gas particle, well, yeah, it'll go up very, very fast, but it's ultimately going to run out of steam and come back down again. Well, no, that's simply not the case. It's going to experience elastic collisions. Or, in the case of water vapour, a phase change and then come back down as bonded water. But ultimately speaking, it never will do what he's claiming, which is go up and then come back down again. It's just not going to do that. So he has to make a false analogy, and he wants the audience to hear that bit, the false analogy with the bouncy ball being the atom.
Well, the whatever they believe gravity is now is supposed to be like an inertial force. It's the Earth rising up. Like, there is no force of gravity or whatever.
Hang on, just be careful with that, because that's Fight the Flat Earth, citing Dr. Eric Verlinde, who is not the current position in science. He's proposing that as a possibility, and I tend to agree with him. However, he isn't the current position. So whilst he's saying that, that doesn't make it the current position. He has, in other words, he has to debunk Einstein.
Einstein said that. He said there was no difference between the Earth rising up and things falling down.
Yeah, you said an emergent. Didn't you just use the phrase emergent force?
No, an inertial.
Oh, sorry.
A
Forgive me. I
pseudo-force.
thought I misheard you. I thought you said something else.
And if the Earth's rising up, what about the things on the bottom?
Just to explain that. Sorry,
If it's a
Rams.
ball.
He heard a trigger word. He heard emergent when you said inertial, and that trigger word got Anthony's hackles up.
I'm sure he said that.
Well, I think Rumpus would have had a easier time trying to explain that everything's rising up than trying to argue down when gas isn't going down. I don't know why he wasted his time with that. Nobody believes it.
Because as long as he can tell the audience that story, that's his job done. As long as we can talk about it in that context, that's enough.
Exactly. That's exactly what I said. Precisely, Anthony. Just needs the little story to go out there for it to disseminate and dissolve in the brains of the people it needs to dissolve in. That's all it needs. It doesn't need to sound correct or accurate. It doesn't matter that it's littered with double speak contradiction. It doesn't matter that something going up is being classed as going down. It's just all nonsense. But so long as the story comes out and is heard by the audience, he's achieved his desired. That's why he kept repeating it over and over and over and over again at all costs, to the point where he had a little chuckle about it, because he knows his game plan. Anthony picked up on it. You can hear him chuckling. Yeah, you can, because he knows where he's going, he knows what he's doing, he knows what his lie is, and he knows how it needs to be disseminated.
Yeah, the minute I heard him laughing, I thought he knows. He does know. He's clever, Rumpus, though. He's clever, not clever in the sense that he's right. He's clever in that he knows all the angles. He knows when to be noisy and when to stop points being heard, and he knows when he's being heard. He knows all this stuff. He's not daft.
Yeah, there was a time that you pointed out to me, and you even took me to the example. Often Anthony will do this. Some people are like, this happened on this channel. I'm like, I don't care. No, you must watch this now. I force you to watch this. So I'll sit and watch it. And in one example, we had Rumpus, who's on the end of a losing argument with two debaters, but he's not part of the argument. So he intentionally causes a disruption so that he'll get kicked out. And what happened as a result of him getting kicked out was the topic could move on to a different subject before the terrible detail and conclusion was made and then reiterated. So it was what Anthony described as a tactical foul. In other words, he knows damn well he's going to get a red card and get sent off, which he did by his own side. But then the subject can get summarised.
Let me explain it with more detail because I remember it vividly. Brandon Toy was arguing with GeoStreber about the Etvos effect. GeoStreber presented a graph showing how the Etvos effect would take place if the Earth was turning. Brandon had spotted that it was a graph based on the model, not based on actual real world data. So because it was being presented as real world and Brandon had spotted it, Rumpus spotted that Brandon had spotted it and he was just about to claim that it was reification. So rather than make that claim and basically debunk the claim that GeoStreber was making, Rumpus took a tactical foul and got kicked for it. So GeoStreber he appeared to be moderating the chat reasonably, but Rumpus had obfuscated the point to the point that Brandon then lost track of the argument that he was just about to win because Rumpus had took a tactical foul and got kicked. Now, when I went back to him and told him about it, I was saying, like, listen to what's actually happening there. And I think he realizes it now. But back then it was different. He didn't get it. And it's the sleight of hand in the middle of the debate, isn't it? It's fantastic to listen back to. But yeah, Rumpus absolutely took a tactical foul to preserve and protect his friend, or to preserve and protect the point.
To preserve and protect. To preserve and protect the rhetoric.
Yeah, the rhetoric.
He's still daft numpty, man.
Yeah, I know you put that across.
He may have caught that, but read the top 10. I just posted it in Ballbusters and
he's lumbered with that position. He's got to fight those arguments. Adherence to the arguments which he must fight doesn't make him stupid.
Oh, he's stupid.
Okay, we'll have to agree to disagree on this one.
Yeah.
It makes him intelligent because he knows when to obfuscate points and when to let things slide.
He's not intelligent. You're way off. Read the top 10.
Did you ever listen to Brandon Toy?
Yeah, that one point, like I said, but that was right there in your face. Everyone's seen that point. That doesn't make him intelligent.
Well, it was missed at the time because the point got lost and everyone was going on about how Rumpus was doing his usual thing. But Rumpus, he achieved his goal, so like it was completely missed at the time. But when you go back and watch it,
you already said that. How
blatantly
many times are
obvious.
you going to say it? 10 more times? Yeah, we already know that. So let's go through the top 10. The Globe-Tard Goober Priest, the doofus. Top 10 belly laughers. Here we go. Air is not the atmosphere. You don't have to be conscious to make an observation. You don't need to have a cause to establish a cause and effect relationship. The second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to the Earth. There's no such thing as natural laws. Pendulums go around in a figure 8. Measuring things is not mass. Gases effectively have little springs on them, pulling them towards the Earth. The lens of the human eye is concave. Gases are solids. So you think this guy's intelligent? Huh? Let's bring Elmer Fudd on. And let's test him.
Yeah, what you're detailing is double-scape Orwellian obfuscation that's employed intentionally. It's not because unlike a lot of the other people who come here, he's not trapped in cognitive dissonance. He knows that there are two positions being held simultaneously and how they need to be argued as such. So it's a step beyond that when you actually recognise and know, as Rumpus does, where the positions are contrary to one another, and therefore you need to step in and tell us that we're stupid for not understanding it at those key moments. That, to me, demonstrates intelligence, even if you disagree.
Yeah, I agree.
Intelligence. Maybe just above a root vegetable on occasion. But
no, it's good. It's good. We need this balance.
institutionalized.
I'd rather you were saying it, because otherwise it comes across like we're bigging up Rumpus. It needs this balance. So yes, on many levels, based purely on what he actually says at surface level, he's as dumb as a root vegetable. You're right.
Well, he comes across like in court, they bring in an expert witness. I think it's also referred to as professional witness, someone who knows a certain field that relates to the court case. Except with Rumpus, when the cross-examination starts, he's done.
Yeah,
it's the cross-examination is the issue, isn't it?
There's no cross-examination with Rumpus. If it was court comparison, the opposing lawyer would start talking and deposing him, and he'd start talking over them and saying blah 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 blah. Well, let me just say the same sentence 5 more times.
Yep. That's what he does. He's got a 1956 physics glossary, and it's like he's pointing at terms that are in there. The terms are legitimate, but he has no fucking clue.
Did he get it from Fight the Flat Earth?
He puts them together. God.
They're both using the same glossary.
Again?
Him and Fight the Flat Earth have both got these like out-of-date 1950s and 60s stuff that they refer to.
Oh, Fight the Flat Earth is worse than Rumpus. See, when you say angular momentum, I keep on stressing this. That I don't think you guys realize how stupid this is. When the word angular comes out of your mouth and speed or rate are close behind that, you would fail 6th grade intro to physics. This has a purposeful no understanding of physics whatsoever. But you guys ain't getting it.
Retro
You don't realize realize the gravity, pardon the pun, of the situation.
So Retro Bill said from the super chat during the live show, Fight the Flat Earth is still chanting that Coriolis is, quote, hold on, I can't see the rest of the screen, all about conservation of momentum.
Really? Which one?
They assert angular, but then juxtapose it with the conservation of linear momentum. So they talk about the miles per hour differences as you traverse northwards on a sphere. But then they're describing what they title as Coriolis Effect as the conservation of angular momentum.
Oh, so the object that left the rotating reference frame is still rotating?
According to them, yes. Yes, that's correct. Yes. That's what they're saying. Yes.
Yeah, like I said, that's an old Ackham virus. He just pulled that card out just a little while ago, right here in chat.
What Coriolis Effect is actually the angular momentum being conserved.
Yeah, the angular momentum. He posted it in chat. I said, even after I drug you around by your short hairs that one day on your show, showing that he didn't have a clue what linear or angular momentum was, he went ahead and posted it again.
Yeah.
That the Coriolis effect was the conservation of angular momentum. He posted it again.
That's
These
cognitive
people
dissonance.
are delusional.
You say delusional, I say trapped in cognitive dissonance, and I'm going to be saying it more and more as it becomes more and more obvious that that is actually the case. They're just holding two positions simultaneously. I get him in the chat round and round in circles. I can normally do it within 2 or 3 paragraphs, back and forth in the chat now with Virus. Just back and forth to get him to say, yeah, we've got drift 15 degrees an hour. No, we don't have drift. Why would you expect it? When it's on the show, if you're listening to Come Virus detail these things, you'll hear him laugh. And he'll say something like, well, that's Coriolis Effect, knowing full well that it's in complete contrast to what he's just spent 10 minutes arguing for. In other words, at some level, he recognises his own cognitive dissonance and laughs about it when it happens.
R.C. Meisty was in chat, too, displaying his intellectual prowess with the Coriolis Effect. Listen to what he said. Roll a ball from the outside of a merry-go-round to the inside while it's rotating. That curved path, excuse me, that curved path along the surface of the merry-go-round is caused by the Coriolis Effect. Can you believe that?
Well, it's a
so I said,
number one, that's not
train wreck
Effect.
Goober false equivalence fallacy. Do we have planes rolling along the surface of the Earth in flight?
No, nor do we observe a claimed Coriolis Effect in trains or bloody cars.
This is the level that we're at here with it. We need to break out of these hedgerows, man.
Well, we've gone past it now. I'm glad we have. We've gone past where we have to educate them in their claim. I mean, we spent so long doing it, we got to the point where Simon Dan started debunking us explaining their own claim to them. Just beyond belief.
Yeah, but they're not getting it.
If you're in the sea and you're drowning and somebody throws you a life buoy, but you don't comprehend that the physics of the life buoy is actually going to make that life buoy sink, you'll still grab at it and try and cling on to that life buoy in the hope that it keeps you afloat, even though it's made of bricks. Yeah, it's going to go down. That's where they're at. And they're grabbing at anything that keeps them in the paradigm, and they'll grab at it not knowing or understanding the implications. Just somebody else has validated it. It keeps their paradigm alive. It stops the cog disk. So they'll grab at it, and then what we see is them then in the debates learn who's like what the life buoy they've just grabbed it as, and then they realise it's a brick and they don't know what to do with it.
Can I comment on Neil's last statement? But they're not getting it. Who cares? I mean, some people just ain't going to get it.
Yeah, but it gets frustrating, though, Ken. Come
Why?
on.
Why do you have expectations?
It gets frustrating when you lay it out perfectly.
Why do you have expectations?
And they don't get it.
Wait a minute. Why do you have expectations that everyone's got to get it?
That's fine, but then don't claim victory somewhere else like a Kumo virus does.
He's not answering you. Because he thinks it's like a boxing match where at the end, when there's a clear victor declared, that the two sportsmen shake hands, congratulate the other. There might be some slightly hurt feelings that there's been a loss. It never gets to that stage for Neil, and Neil wants to fight. So he wants to have them say, okay, this guy on the trampoline's not drifting, and we're claiming there should be 15 degrees an hour of it. Well, they're never going to get to that stage, so Neil's always going to feel dissatisfied, right, Neil?
No, that's not it. But when they go around claiming victory elsewhere, that gets a little bit annoying.
But they're always
said he dragged these people around by their short hairs, and they come right back out again.
But that's what people do when they don't get it. They claim victory somewhere else. But at least with you, they didn't win, and you go on to the next person, and maybe something different might happen, or maybe it'll be his cousin, and he won't get it either. Who cares? All you got to do.
World. They're in delusional world.
Neil, it's one of the reasons that God invented laughter. So
perfect. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. Also, below this video, there is a link to get £50 back for switching your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.